Hey guys, so this is a guide on how I clear the water treatment compound, either to farm the rogues for their experience and gear or in order to complete my tasks. This is the way that I found to be the most effective and successful, but you guys can use any gun that you're comfortable with as well as go at your own pace. Just be aware that depending on your spawn, just be cautious of PMCs and player scavs, because depending on the time that you get to the water treatment plant, it can be very heavily contested. So hopefully this video helps you guys out, and let me know in the comment section if anything is unclear. So the route I'm going to show you guys, my PMC will be starting on the first bridge looking back towards the village at the large brick building. So I am down below the village on the first bridge looking back towards the large brick building. We will be turning around and running towards the second bridge, then over to the water treatment plant, and we will be passing by the cabins area, which is on my right side here. And this is the area where you have to go to in order to get the note for the Yagertas the Hermit. So after you pass over this second bridge, then we will be taking a left once we get to this heavy machinery just before the blue fence. Because we have a decent scope, we will be checking to see if the rogues are actually up in this raid. And because they are, then we will be continuing on down the road. Now, if you do have a confident shot, then you can take it at this point to kill that first rogue at the sandbags. Or if your scope is not as magnified as mine, then you can run up just past this red car, crouch down in between the truck and the red car, and then take an accurate shot here. So after we kill this rogue, then we will move up using this tower with the sandbags on it as a landmark in order to get ourselves in a good position to kill the far tower rogue. And it is worth noting that you guys can use any gun or ammunition that you want or that you're comfortable with. So once in front of the sandbag tower, just go a little bit further to the area of wall that protrudes out further than the tower, and then you are going to scope in over top of the red connex just behind the sandbags. You're going to crouch down until you have a clean headshot on that rogue that spawns in the far tower. After you neutralize him, then you will run across this area until you see a blue barrel that is just in front of the red connex building. This is what you are going to use as a landmark in order to kill the rogue that's up on top of building number 1. So to kill him, get yourself into a position where you can slow or fast right-hand peek through this window immediately to the right of the barrel without exposing too much of your body. So just a note, if you are killing the rogues at the front gate and you do hear somebody pushing you very aggressively from inside the water treatment plant, that the goons do have 2 possible spawn locations on Lighthouse, and one of them is inside the water treatment plant compound. So just listen for his voice line and also make sure that you have a right-hand peek, and then be prepared to pre-fire on night because he will push you like a maniac. So I thought it might be useful to show a clip of me messing up and almost dying so that you guys don't do the same thing. But since the windows are a little bit higher, then you do need to be aware of the height over bore mechanic in Tarkov and be aware of how close that you are to this wall. As you can see here, my scope is right on the rogue's head, but because I'm too tight to the wall, my bullet's not clearing it, and instead I'm firing directly into the sheet metal in front of me. So to fix this, you just do have to take a few steps back, and then you'll have enough clearance for the bullet to go exactly where your scope is aiming. And another tip is that while you are trying to get into the right position to peek this rogue, if you find that your strafe is taking you too far, then you can crouch down and then try and strafe, and essentially it will take half the length of a step that you are taking while standing up. So another potential situation with this task is that the furthest tower rogue could actually abandon the tower and be positioned anywhere on the ground around it. There is always a second front tower rogue, so if he's not up in the tower or dead up there, then he's definitely roaming around somewhere. And some of the locations are he could be out front close to the road, or he could be where he's located in this video, which you will see in a second, or he could be even further to the right from where he is in this video, up against the wall that runs all the way down to building 1. If he's not where he is in this video, then you could be cautious and then lob a grenade over the top just to see if you get a voice prompt. But just remember, you should always be cautious as you are checking for him, because you will be on the left-hand peek. And it is also a good idea that while peeking to be crouched down so that the Gatling gun rogue on building number 1 doesn't shoot you through the open windows, because they can see you when you are standing. So if you're not comfortable or not having good luck using the quick right-hand peek next to the blue barrel, you can go to the very last window and slow lean until you do get a shot through the material that's partially blocking the rogue on the gun, exactly how I just did. And this is a more forgiving way to get the kill because he doesn't immediately lock onto you through that material, and you can shoot him through it. After taking out these 3 rogues, then you can start moving into the water treatment compound towards building number 1. You should be uncontested for the most part moving towards the building, but there is the chance that ground rogues can spawn on this side of the building, just over by the bunkhouses, so just make sure to stop and to check on that like I'm doing here at these connexes before moving too far up and being out in the open. As you go past this opening, make sure that night isn't pushing towards you if the goons did happen to spawn in your raid, and as you approach this toll boom arm, then you can slow left lean in order to check on another ground rogue spawn just inside the doorway of building 1. Once you make sure that that's clear, I walk on top of this white sheet just past the first truck to be able to look over top of the bed of the second truck, and I am looking towards the black car that's in the front right side of building number 1 to make sure that that ground rogue spawn is actually clear. Once I clear all of this, then I do move up past the car and shut the building 1 door so that I can peek at the building 2 and possibly take out the front left Gatling gun rogue there. Usually they won't shoot you from here for some reason, or I will show you guys also another spot inside of building 1 where you can take out all 3 of the building 2 roof rogues in just a second. Once you open up the door, I recommend throwing a grenade, not necessarily to kill anything, but just to get yourself some intel on if the rogues are close or if you are clear to move into the actual building. I do recommend bringing in 4 or 5 grenades for you if you are planning to clear the water treatment plant. And after you move in, I do tend to go on the left-hand side and go down this pathway and check to see if this door at the very end is open. If it is open, that does mean that the ground rogues are probably lurking around building number 1. And basically, this is just a quick reference just to put you on high alert. After that, I do move to the right-hand side of the building, watching the front door area for ground rogues pushing in or lurking on the outside. And then I go up to the second level, where I will be going into the last room on the right-hand side in order to take out the 2 or 3 rooftop rogues that can be on top of building number 2. So as you can see, 2 of the 3 gunners are up, and because we had already checked to clear the front left gunner before entering into this building, then we know that I can peek this window with minimal risk. The method I use for this situation is to shoot the back left gunner first and then the front right, because if you do shoot the front right first, then the left one will come off the gun and run around for a while and make you wait before you're able to get another shot on them. So this method I found just to be more efficient. After you take out the rooftop rogues on building number 2, if there are ground rogues on the far side of building 1, then they will try to push up to you in this room, which you will hear a metal audio prompt while they climb the stairs, so that will give you some time to get to a right hand peek. And just so you guys know, when there are ground rogues, it's usually 2 or 3 of them, and once you clear these guys, then you only have 1 rogue left on building number 1 to deal with, and he will be on the rooftop gun on this far side of the building. So usually I check the rogues for grenades if I am running low, that way I can use those to help clear the other buildings, and they will also have AFAX or IFAX if you're running low on heals. After this, I will move out of building 1 towards the train yard side of Lighthouse, and in order to take care of the rooftop rogue, I end up going on the far side of this white truck and slowly move back until the rogue gets on the gun. And I only go far back enough that I have just enough of a view of the top of the head to be able to shoot it. You will know if you go too far back, because then the rogue will start to shoot at you, but if you do it correctly, then you'll be able to take him out without being shot at. So after we take out that guy, then that will be building number 1 cleared, and then we can move over towards building number 2, and I like to stop at this corner and just do an extra check and make sure that no player scavs or rogues have jumped onto that corner Gatling gun, and then I will do a couple checks just to make sure that there are no ground rogues around building number 2 that will get me as I'm crossing over. If there are ground rogues at building number 1 or 3 or in the center of the water treatment compound, it is rare that they'll also be out around building number 2. However, it's not 0, so it's always good to be extra cautious. And also a note that if Night is out and has pushed you at the front of the water treatment compound, then Big Pipe and Bird Eye can push you from building number 2, and this is oftentimes where they will hang out. So again, using the grenade just to get some intel and see if there is anything that's here on the ground that you can hear or any additional rogues up top. I didn't hear any audio prompts, so then I will run through, and then we're going to be checking over towards building number 3 just at the back door, because ground rogues can be here, as well as Night or Big Pipe if they have spawned. Also, they oftentimes will be over around building number 3 if they're not at building 2. So after I make sure that the back door is clear, then I am going to be checking for the ground rogues down at the helicopter just to make sure that they're not going to shoot at me on the cross or when I try to go up on top of one of the water treatment buildings. Because if those center ground rogues are up, then they will laser you as soon as your feet touch the metal stairs leading up to one of the 3 different water treatment buildings. So I find that they're much easier to fight actually from the center of the water treatment plant, try and run down towards the helicopter area and then get a right hand peek on them and then shoot them when they can't see you. So what I'm doing here is just clearing another ground rogue spawn just outside of building number 3 along that wall. They can spawn there and they will cause you problems as you are heading up to the rooftop of building number 2. So it's always a good idea just to double check that one particular spawn. Now another tip is to always pre-med before you head up these outer steps that lead to the rooftop, because if you do get shot, then you will be a sitting duck if they happen to leg you. So it's always a good idea just to have some type of medication on board that will allow you to get up to the top regardless of what happens to your legs. Now that we're up on building 2, then I am just confirming my kills as well as clearing the remainder of the roof, because there can be up to 3 different rogues that spawn up here, as well as player scavs throughout the entire raid. Player scavs do tend to spawn in quite early into Lighthouse, so it's always a good idea just to make sure that there's not somebody lurking around waiting for you behind some cover. After this, then you can just crouch down here, and then you do have a clear line of sight towards the last rogue that's on a Gatling gun at building number 3. So you can take him out, and then you'll have free reign to move around the water treatment plant without being shot at by the rogues. There is one final place to check for ground rogues at the very front of building number 3, but after you do clear that area, you will be good to move around the water treatment compound to either farm their gear and then leave, or to do whatever task it is that you need to do, whether it be reconnaissance, energy crisis, corporate secrets, broadcast part 1, or the Lighthouse revision marking the strikers. You just need to be cautious of actual player scavs or PMCs at this point. So directly around this corner underneath the staircase is where the ground rogue spawn is here at building 3, and they do spawn bunched up there, and you have a right hand peek, so you should easily be able to take out these 2 ground rogues. And if that is the case that they spawn there and you take them out, then you should have free reign to move around the water treatment compound as you see fit to do any of those tasks that I did mention. And if you do require a guide or just another perspective on how to complete these tasks, I do have guides up on my YouTube page for all of these different videos that I did mention, so feel free to check that out if you do need, as well as several other guides for different tasks on other maps. I do also have a Discord that is steadily growing, so if you guys did want to join our community to either get some help or to play with some new people, then the invite link will be in the description. I know a lot of people stop playing mid-wipe, so that leaves some of you without a group to run with, and it can be quite discouraging playing solo Tarkov. So if you are approaching building number 1 from the center compound and trying to jump over top of this pipe, I never recommend anyone jump over anywhere except for here, because if you are able to get over the pipe, then you can duck in behind the door here and get behind the concrete wall for some cover, whereas the amount of times I've died trying to jump over further left is actually absurd, so I don't recommend any of my buddies try and do that anymore. And then the last thing I'm going to show you guys is a shot that you can take from building number 1 to 3 if you are confident in your shot, where you can kill that last Gatling gun rogue. You don't have to go up on top of building number 2 in order to get the shot. If you are confident that there are no ground rogues in the center of the compound that will shoot you on your way up on top of building number 1, then you can take this shot instead after you clear the top of building number 1 as well as the rooftop rogues on building number 2 from that window that I showed you. So if you do want to join us sometime, or if you just need help on a task or a key to open a door, feel free to join our community via Discord, or even just leave a comment on this video and then I will respond to you. I also do stream on Twitch regularly, so if you do want to stop in and say what's up sometime, I greatly appreciate any of the new and regular people who do stop by. So thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching this video. I hope that it was informative and did help you to complete any tasks that you might have. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a fantastic rest of your day.